Building a $500 computer is hard, like really, really hard. Considering some middle-end GPUs cost more than this whole computer, you should not be expecting much. But we do think the performance will surprise you. To start off with the brains of the computer, we look at the i3-10105F. Bet you haven't heard of this CPU before, have you? Clocked slightly higher than the i3-10100F, it's a slight upgrade in performance for a cheaper price tag. Also, yes, we understand that this thing only is an i3, but when you look a little closer, it has 4 cores and 8 threads, along with a max boost of 4.4 GHz, which if you think about it, doesn't look all that bad. This is a great starter CPU. It will do its job well for as long as you need it to. However, if you were to upgrade in the future, this should be one of the first things that you look at. 10th gen CPUs have great discounts right now with the introduction of 12th gen, so if you want a little more CPU performance, the i5-10400F is only $45 more and you get the extra 2 cores and 4 threads. What are we putting the CPU into, you might ask? You might be right if your answer is the cheapest motherboard humanly possible. The ASRock H510M AC is the bottom of the barrel, or so we thought. This motherboard comes with Gen 3 M.2 support as well as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities, which is always a big plus. Although limited by its 2 RAM slots and its lackluster I/O, it has some additional perks, like addressable RGB. One important thing to note, if you want to move to an 11th gen CPU, this motherboard is compatible, so that could be a possible upgrade path in the future as well. Speaking of RAM slots, we have the Silicon Power 16GB set with a 2x8 configuration, clocked at 3200 MHz speed. The RAM may look like a piece of sheet metal with some weird green stuff in the middle, but this is what budget gaming PCs look like, so get used to it. Although sadly our CPU won't fully utilize its 3200 MHz of its capable speed. It was still worth spending the extra $5 now for potential future upgrades rather than sticking with the maximum 2666 MHz this i3 supports. For a budget this cheap, we still found a way to get the Team Group MP33 M.2 in there. Yeah. We get that Call of Duty takes up half the storage, but at least it won't take 2 business days to open up the dang game. This PCIe Gen 3 NVMe has a write speed of 1700 megabytes per second and a read speed of 1400 megabytes per second, which would be a huge improvement compared to any other hard drive on the market. If you do need more storage, a similar 1TB M.2 will cost you only $35 more. Now we need to power this lean, mean gaming machine. The CORSAIR VS Series VS500 80+ certified power supply will do just that. Honestly, there isn't anything special about this power supply at all. But it's not a bomb, so don't say we never did anything for you. We need every viewer we can get, so burning down your house would not be the smartest move. And now for the part that you've all been waiting for. We're not the type of people to put integrated CPU graphics in a system and call it a gaming PC. Although all of our parts previously were brand new parts, we have to compromise with the GPU. The GTX 1060 is an absolute powerhouse for the price. The 3GB model can be found for $150 and the 6GB model for only about $190. Due to our price constraints, we're going to focus on the 3GB model, but when you see the benchmarks of this now 6-year-old GPU, we think you'll be very impressed. With it outperforming cards like the 1650 and the 1050 Ti, as well as the RX 570, it's a perfect card to start out in your PC gaming journey. Although limited by its 3GB of VRAM with lower resolution textures, you will achieve impressive 1080p performance. Oh, you thought we were getting a case in this build? Computer parts are very expensive. I don't know. Well, fine, we'll find a case. The DIYPC G1BK ARGB Black USB 3.0 / tempered glass ATX mid-tower gaming computer case will do. Yeah, the cooling of this case isn't the best, but it's better than having your computer parts spread across the floor like Legos. So if you have extra room in your budget, a slightly better case would be recommended. Now that the computer is fully built, we can go over some benchmarks. In Fortnite, on competitive settings, it achieves an average of 190 frames per second. In Valorant, on medium settings, it achieves an average of 240 frames per second, and in Call of Duty Warzone, on competitive settings, it achieves an average of 73 FPS. Although we know how cool a $1,000 plus gaming PC could be, $500 gaming PCs are so important for people just trying to get into PC gaming. Depending where you live, the access to some of these parts might make them more expensive, but sadly, we're unable to adjust to each computer market around the world. But if you're able to find the right sales, you will be able to significantly reduce the cost of certain parts in this computer and possibly even get better parts than what we were able to find.